တွေ့ခံစားနာဂသုံးစားမြင်တွေ့ရဒုက္ခသစ္စာမြင်နေမှုမှရှိပြရတာဒီစက်ကလည်းဒုက္ခသစ္စာတွေခန္ဓာတိုက်တဲ့ဘုရားတရားတွေဒီကိစ္စတရားတွေအဲ့ဒါရှိတယ်မရှိရင်တတိမေတော့စိတ်စီးပြီးတော့မသိဘောအဝိဇ္ဇာဖြစ်တယ်မသိရဘူးလို့အလိုရချက်ဖြစ်တယ်သမစ္ဆေနဲ့တွေ့ရင်တောင်းလို့ຢာကမျက်စိအမုန်းတယ်နဲ့တွေ့ရင်ရှင်မုန်းပြောတာဒါဝိဇ္ဇာတော်လက်တာဆိုတာဒါဖြစ်တယ်သောကြီးမရှိတယ်လားဖြစ်တော့အဲ့ဒါကိုပြောတော့ဒါလည်းဆက်ပြီးတော့တကယ်ဒီဖြစ်ဖို့ဝိဇ္ဇာဖြစ်ဖို့ຢာကဖြစ်ဖို့ဒေါသဖြစ်ဖို့
Last time we were discussing how with the practice of mindfulness we are able to comprehend the truth of suffering, dukkha satya, at the time of seeing with the eye. At that time there are these two kinds of rupa nama, or three kinds of materiality and three kinds of mentality. Or in terms of elements, there are three elements, namely the base element, the striker element and the ignition element. They are the really existing things to be which can be discernible, which are discernible, and if one is not if one is not mindful, then one will not be able to develop concentration. Then one will be overwhelmed by avijja, moha, not only unknowing, not only ignorance, simple ignorance, but also misperception, wrong understanding. Not only simple lack of understanding, but there will be wrong understanding or misperception. So that when one comes across lustful object, one will be overwhelmed by lust, one will become lustful, one will become attached, and as regards undesirable objects, there can arise aversion, anger, dissatisfaction, avijja, domanassa, and so on. As much as one lacks protection, one will be overwhelmed by all these things. And then Jara also promised the yogis that he would talk about other activities such as hearing and so on, and then to talk about Sakayaditi, the distorted view of individuality, and how avijja, raga, dosa arise. And today he would like to deal with this subject.
Nani Jaya Yoga Nasya Jadwi Kanza Naga Dunsa Jazin Tuya Duga Dinsa Jare Kani Hasu Pia Jaze Kala Kala Yoga Disa Pia Naga Disa Pia Shani Jaya Kala Nasya Jaya Kala Nasya you are yoga is a secretary. India is a Kandana data. You are Jatira, Jakandana, Natuka is a India. Don't go and see that. You don't need to go to the upon damage for Jazzy Kalama. Yamaki Archie Chan, the Yari, look at this time. See if the Yari is here. Madiani is a good company here. Good cut this and the Yari. Pacha Sika, the Shipatia, မှတ်တည်ရမယ်ဆိုတော့ရှိမှကြား
At the moment of hearing with the ear, there are these two kinds of dukkha satya, rupa dukkha satya and nama dukkha satya, the material truth of suffering and the mental truth of suffering. And there are two material truth of suffering, namely the ear and the sound, and the three mental truth of suffering, namely the hearing consciousness, contact and feeling. All these things are obvious things which are perceptible if you are mindful, if one is mindful. And the ear and the sound are rupa dukkha satya. In other words, they are the base element. One is base element, the other is striker element. As for the mental dukkha satya, mental truth of suffering, nama dukkha satya, they are hearing consciousness, contact and feeling. And the three come under the heading ignition element. It is classified as ignition element. And at the moment of hearing, these are the realizable things, things which can be realized through practice. As is said, dukkham parinyayam. That means the truth of suffering are to be fully understood. That's what the Buddha said. So we have to fully understand or comprehend, or in other words, simply put note to know the truth of suffering. And how to note? A note as hearing.
Just the dukkha satya she said, Mashura, Sakayati, she did, the Sakayati, the two Hale, Sakaya, Sakaya, the Homa, Dama, Saga, the Kaya,
if one is not mindful at the moment of hearing the dukkha satya, the truth of suffering, or not note the truth of suffering at the moment of its arising, what can happen? One will be overwhelmed by the distorted view of individuality. And to explain this expression, there are two aspects, Sakaya and Ditti. Sakaya also is a compound of two words, Sa and Kaya. So these have to be explained to understand.
Sakaya ma Sakaya, Sakaya, Santa, Santa, Ujamana, Kinshashi, Kinshashi, Yamoki, Abshin, Kinshapia, Kinshado, Yamoki, Kinshado, Kaya, Asik, Kasi, Sakaya, Yamoki, Abshin, Yamoki, Paramata, Abshin, Kinshado, Kinshashi,
Therefore, Sakaya is a compound of Sa and Kaya. Sa is an abbreviation of Santa. Vijamana, that means obvious or perceptible or realizable, experienceable. Kaya means aggregate. Two kinds of aggregates: material aggregate, Rupa Kaya, and mental aggregate, Nama Kaya. Therefore, Sakaya means the experienceable, the realizable, or the Rupa Kaya, realizable aggregates of mind and body, or mental and physical aggregates which are experienceable through practice.
ကြားတဲ့ကာလမှာဘုရားပြောကြတဲ့အတိုင်းပရမတ္ထမျက်မှောက်ပြီးအပြင်ထင်ရှားတော်ဆိုတာခန္ဓာဒီသဘောလေးယုတ်ကတိတ္တရဲ့ကြားတဲ့ထင်ရှားတာအတိုက်တာအတန်တိုင်းမျက်မှောက်ပြီးအပြင်ထင်ရှားတာအဲသံဃာထင်ရှားမျက်မှောက်ပြီးအပြင်ထင်ရှားတော့ယုတ်ဆိုတာချာယုတ်ကြီးတော့ရှိပါတယ်ကြားတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့လို့ရှုမှတ်ဖို့ရှုခွင့်နေအားဖြင့်ကြားတဲ့ကာလမှာဒါပဲဖြစ်တယ်ပြီးတော့ကြားတယ်သောတာသံဃာသောတာဝိညာဏသောတာသံဃာကြားခံစားလာသောတာသံဃာပြီးလာကြားလို့ကောင်းခံစားတယ်ဒါအဖို့တသုံးခုတော့မျက်မှောက်ပြီးအားဖြင့်ဘုရားနေရာကိုသိရှာရတာအဲ့ဒါတော့နာမကာယတော့မျက်မှောက်ပြီးအားဖြင့်သိရှာတော့ယုတ်အစုနာယုတ်ပေါင်းတာတော့
At the moment of hearing or during hearing, there are these ultimate realities, paramatthas, which are experienceable through practice or realizable through practice. And we have this base element, that is the ear sensitivity, which is perceptible, base element, ear sensitivity, which is the realizable or perceptible rupa dukkha satya through experience or through practice. And then we have this striker element, the sound, which also is obvious, the ultimate reality and realizable through experience. And this is very obvious. There are other materialities, of course, but they are in the main. They are the main thing which are worthy of note, worthy to be mindful, as they are very obvious at the moment of hearing. And then we have this another aspect of dukkha satya, which is mental dukkha satya. That is in the moment of hearing, we have this hearing consciousness, the contact and the feeling, good or bad. So they are also the ultimate realities, obvious ultimate realities, obvious in that they are realizable through experience, and they are nama kaya, the mental aggregate.
Paramata āsya, yamāpi āsya, tesha shi ni ni, tesha shi ni yunsu na shi ni. Tati munro, munro ni sara mero na. Tesi shi ni jari na mati ni. Mamati ra ari ma. Jade kala ma tesha ra. ခန္ဓာတက်တာဖြစ်တယ်။ဒါပေမဲ့လို့အများကြီးနားလည်တာငါကအဲငါကကြားတာကငါပဲ။အဲ့ဒီလိုအနေနဲ့တော့ဇီဝအတ္တအနေနဲ့တော့ဒီလိုနားလည်တာ။အဲ့အပူနားလည်တာ။အဲ့ဒီပူနားလည်သွားတာကမပန်းကန်နဲ့နားလည်တာ။အဲ့ဒီကိစ္စ။ဘယ်မှာလဲ။ဘယ်မှာအယူဘယ်ပေါ်မှာလဲခုနပရမတ္ထဖြစ်ဒီမို့ပြရတဲ့သင်္ချာတော့ကြားတဲ့ကာလမှာသင်္ချာရဲ့ကျင့်ကြံလိုက်အဲ့ဒါကိုစက္ကယတိစက္ကယမှာလောကဘယ်မှာလဲ
Although they are paramatthas, ultimate realities, which are realizable through experience, and they are very perceptual, they are obvious mind-body aggregate. If one is not mindful, as a saying goes, in a local saying goes, if being unmindful, one cannot see things in their true nature. One cannot see the truth. So also, being unmindful, one will not be able, one's mind will be distracted, there will be scattering of the mind, lack of concentration and lack of knowledge. Not knowing the truth, not knowing the truth of the matter, namely the base element, strike element and ignition element, one may take the view of self or soul that this is I who is hearing, and the one who is hearing is I, holding the view of jiva atta, individual self or soul. This is a superfluous knowledge, superficial knowledge, superficial understanding in the wrong way. This is known as deity, wrong view. On what? Wrong view in what aspect? Wrong view in respect of the ultimately realizable things, nama rupa aggregate through experience, and such is known as Sakaya deity, wrong view or distorted view in respect of the experienceable ultimate realities of mind-body aggregates.
Personality belief is the first of the 10
Personality belief, yeah. Personality belief is also personality belief. There are 20 kinds of Sakaya deity, which first of all, to understand how one becomes deity, one holds wrong view as regards Sakaya, the obviously experienceable mind-body aggregate, which are hearing is done by Atta, or Atta has heard. The one who has heard is Atta, not my mind or body. The Sakaya deity. Distorted view of individuality. So this, when one's views or understanding are distorted, perverted, what can happen? What can happen is this: when one hears a pleasant sound which attracts one's mind, then one will become lustful or attached not only to the sound but also the one who makes the sound, or the owner of the voice, or the one who makes the voice. And if the sound is unpleasant, there will arise aversion, ill will, and so on. Not only to the sound or the one who produces the sound, but also to one's own ear. Because my ear is good, sensitive, I can hear such sound, such a sound. In this way, one will take pride in oneself. And if one cannot hear very distinctly an interesting sound, attractive sound, then one will be angry to oneself, or because of my ear, because my ear is not healthy, not good, I cannot hear. So one will have aversion about one's ear. If one is listening to a person in which one is interested, attractive person, if one cannot hear things, if one will wish to hear, go on hearing the sound or the voice, and will become attached to this, attached more and more. And if one hears something which one does not take interest, uninteresting sound, then one will have ill will or aversion. When there is, or one will have this emotional feeling as regards the contact, phassa, contact of the hearing consciousness and the sound in the ear. If it's interesting, then one will become attached to it, one will become lustful, and if it's not desirable, unpleasant, then there will be mental distress, domanassa. Hence it is said that from phassa to vedana, that is raga, dosa, arise as a result of contact. So look at in the West, in some countries, if one is the neighbor is making noise, you would report to the police in order to come and take action. And because of sound, there can arise a lot of conflicting cases, problems, quarreling, killing, and violent actions. Violent actions can result as a result of this distress, mental distress, or aversion, or anger. Problem arises from very trifle matter into very violent, huge, magnificent, huge, big problems. The root cause lies in the lack of mindfulness, as is said. O monks, the monk in this dispensation should possess a mind guarded by vigilant mindfulness of every arising. So, because one is not in keeping with this principle, the problems become enlarged.
Sati Alekha Kilo Kuna Segari Nagadosa Lulu Aya Masago China Yiki Tetanari Daria Lulu Any Kilita, Tesla, the other change here, and the weather, the Indian or something there are the Chinese, the Yinga, Joey, get it out of the world,
because of the lack of this direct enough, the guard, the means of protection with vigilant mindfulness. Because one is not, because of the lack of protection, there is no security. That means Sagaditi is not secured, and the Raga Dosa are not secured, are not under control. The problems are not subdued, are not brought under control. Because of the lack of security, there is a lack of freedom from the bondage of all these undesirable elements. And because of the lack of freedom, there is no peace, no santi. So that these are the root cause for the destruction of happiness. So they all are lost. The satisfaction, happiness are lost. They are lost by not being given a chance to arise. Lack of control, lack of restraint. In the long run, with the lowered energy, with the dwindling energy, with the lack of the spiritual stamina, spiritual energy, one becomes reactive, emotional, easily reactive, and at once one will react to the sense impressions, the stimuli such as lustful objects. One will become lustful, and because of in respect of undesirable objects, one will become angry, upset. So this lack of patience and restraint are the root cause. Sensitive. Yeah, sensitive. In the majority of the world, in the world, there are many such people. Now we are noting at the moment of hearing, as hearing, and exercising mindfulness in accordance with the Buddha's expression, Ida Bhikkhu Bhikkhu Sada Rekena Chitta Sa Samanavato 40. All monks in this dispensation, the monk possesses a mind guarded by vigilant mindfulness, so that because we are noting, mobilizing, when you are noting, at the moment of hearing we should note in such a way as to mobilize the restraining forces of mindfulness and note. Restraining